Hi everyone, this is Yuri from ORIL, and today we're going to have another episode of our Innovation Blueprint podcast. And today we have another very interested guest in our room. And today our guest is Sean Everett. Give a big round of applause. Yay! That's not a lot of people around me, so that's not going to be very loud. So, Sean, say hello to the crowd.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, Sean is the CEO of the company Evergence, and the Evergence it's a pretty big deal for the companies who's trying to scale their businesses and not only. In their profile, it says that it's high impact services for conscious brands ready to rise and scale for the greater good. However, Sean, can you please tell us a bit more about the company and what exactly you guys do?
Yeah, in short, we build products and experiences for high growth startups, middle market private equity companies, and their portcos and Fortune 500s. And so, what does that mean? On the product and growth side, we help a number of private equity companies do M&A transaction diligence for product and technology, and then also post close value creation, which is essentially like help them operate. Um, we also build a number of Gen AI solutions, both for internal and external use cases. And we oftentimes help um, early stage companies with their financial modeling, their pitch decks, their overall strategy, their go to market, and then just their product and technology build outs. So we do the work's a little bit different at each stage, but really it's all the same thing, which is driving structural EBITDA improvements to improve returns for the owners. And then on the experiential side, my partner is an expert in brand, has 25, 30 years experience in that, works with a lot of sports entertainment and beauty companies, retail as well, and helps them with doing experiential activations as well as maintaining and developing brand standards. And that's all to help drive growth and awareness in a very noisy market. So you put those things together, and it's essentially like executing high growth, solid businesses to help them future proof. And yeah, we have a lot of fun. We have really good folks that we work with both internally and externally. And yeah, we love what we do. So it's good stuff.
It was pretty detailed. Thank you for sharing. And the next question is going to be what is the most common issues you've seen companies face when they're trying to scale? And how does the Evergence help them with that?
Yeah, trying to scale. I mean, a lot of times they just throw stuff at the wall, or they just release some product, or, they might hire folks that don't have quite the same experience. And so people are pointed in different directions instead of in the same direction. And then the real problem is getting that direction correct based on the current competitive market, the industry trends, and what your capabilities and unique value props are. So, if you work backwards from what actually drives growth for companies, number one is actually acquisition. It's why M&A is such a big part of what you see companies do, and what private equity has really gotten good at over the years, especially in the enterprise software space. Just like we're going to do a roll up of one, two, three, four, five companies, put them together, buy part of the market, buy customers, buy competitors, put them together, and then unify the platform, the experience, and offer better value to customers. So that's number one. Number two is pricing and packaging. Obviously, it's a simple change, but can have a big impact, and how you define that demand curve across your pricing and packaging solution, price laddering, that whole thing. Go to market, I won't touch on yet, but product, what is product? Product is really a value creation and value capture mechanism, the best ones that operate simultaneously and work together. So it's not enough to just like create a t-shirt brand, throw it on a Shopify, and that's it. Or, create a website with text fields that you input, and then, go cold call a bunch of folks and say, hey, put your information into our text box over that person's text box. Like, that isn't like world class product. So, I think what I find is that what what people have in their minds versus the experts that have been doing it and have found the way to like carve out a very unique path in the market. There's a huge order of difference and magnitude of difference on just understanding. So honestly, step one is just having information and mind melding such that we can tease out the differences in like what we're seeing and how we look at the world versus how they look at the world. Figure out where there's alignments, where there's gaps, and then where there's gaps, figure out what is the right approach and how prioritized that should be in the list. So, growth and scaling is a multi-dimensional Rubik's cube of complexity, and if you don't have a treasure map to get you through that complexity, um, the drawbridge can go out from underneath you, and then you're dead. Which is why you see a number of startups that raised a bunch of money in 21 and 22. They're all failing and having a lot of trouble raising their next round. Even in the private equity space, it's challenging to acquire new companies to find value and then exit those companies in a standard hold period. So the game is getting more challenging, and it's always on 24/7, 365, and a global playground. So yeah, you need good folks in your corner.
Okay. Thank you for your answer. And I would like to know, how do you balance acquisition strategies with innovation to create AI productization and product adoption in general? So basically, how you combine that two parts of business.
Yeah, they're kind of disconnected. Um, Acquiring a company is sort of different than Gen AI, which is a new technology and it's an enablement piece. So they're very different things. Like, could you theoretically acquire a Gen AI company and bolt them on? Suppose you could, but I'm not certain that that would work very well. So you have to pick apart like who are your customers, what are their needs, where's the difference in the value proposition in the market that you and only you can execute against. And artificial intelligence is really just an efficiency tool. It can help you grow EBITDA, by making things easier and faster. But again, it's a tool. It's just another software tool. So, you have to define how you're going to use it, and who's going to use it.
Okay, thank you. And you've been working with multiple diverse industries like prop tech, fintech, e-commerce, etc. And what can you say about the AI applications you think might be the most useful in the different fields?
Yeah, there's really kind of two core use cases. One is, you can call it the RAG method, retrieval augmented generation, which is essentially talk to data. So you get a chat bot and you've got a database of information, documents, whatever, and you can ask it questions and you can chat with it. That's sort of what's been happening most of the time with Gen AI. Historically, a lot of the machine learning in AI has been looking at a lot of data and performing predictions or exposing trends in that data. And then the other Gen AI use case, which we've seen OpenAI release and DeepSeek with their R1, is the operator use case or the workflow automation, which is I'll do step by step processes. But really, what I think people have missed is that there's a piece in between here. And this is the core insight, I think, which is all Gen AI really is it's an intent recognition engine. What do I mean by that? So if I speak to you using words, how do I get a fuzzy match out of those words and use that to define a classic software system? So if I say, oh, at property 23, there was a pipe burst last week and we need to send a survey out to that team, then the intent recognition, the generative AI capability, could pull out individual details and understand what they mean, like property 23, like survey, like certain keywords. They can pass those to an API with a parameter set and use that to define workflows in the existing enterprise SaaS tool. So I think that's really one of the capabilities. And so that applies across any industry that you want to think about. I mean, if there's software, there's a use case, and over the last 10, 20 years, there's been this transformation from pencil and paper and faxes and emails into, form fields with text and buttons and the web and mobile apps. So, this is just the next step on that journey. Instead of having to go in and click things and multiple tabs and move around, you can just tell something what you want. It can go do the thing and like validate it and then just keep going. So it's really just a way to like make things faster and easier for you. So you don't have to define every single step along the way.
That yeah, that sounds pretty interesting and very complicated. And talking about the complexity, which issue the most company faces when they're trying to integrate AI in their existing solution?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's what the media and what you read isn't always the right use case. So until you actually get in and build it, you will not have the insight. And so I've seen folks waste time, money, energy, and resources going down a path because they thought that was the right path, and they're missing huge, huge things. It's like it's either one side of the continuum or the other. And what they've missed is like there's this big sweet spot in here where you have much lower risk, much higher capability set, and you get the same like outcome or value. So I would say, and this is self-serving, of course, but it's because I've actually experienced it. Is like building these projects. I've had to put a spreadsheet together where I look at, okay, there's two columns, and along all these dimensions of rows down the list is like, here's all the things. And it's like, which one is classic software and which one is Gen AI? And you X the ones. And when you do that, you start to realize, like, oh, now I understand where the real magic is. And that helps you build a better product faster, cheaper, better. I mean, you can now pick three. I mean, I'm working on products of my own, and yeah, I'll just tell you that never before in history am I able to execute so rapidly in the market with a new solution to a customer problem, and it's pretty amazing from a builder perspective. So I would just say it's worth a phone call before you go spend hundreds of thousands, millions, billions of dollars. You may be doing this thing all wrong, um, and I would challenge you to think differently. So
So,
that's
You,
just my
you,
response
you
here.
look really excited when you're talking about that. But talking about the
Yeah.
classic software, as you said, may I ask you what kind of software or what kind of applications do you use for your daily routine that helps you to run your business successfully?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to only a few. There's email, there's a calendar, there's Zoom, there's Notion, there's a Word document, and Excel, and sometimes slides. My whole job is basically writing. Like I've probably written full encyclopedias worth over in the last couple years. It's just the stuff I publish never sees the light of day. They're all instructions, which is sort of the essence of like product management and building in a digital world. Is you write more than most writers. It's just not for entertainment. It's an instruction set to other humans or computers. So I think the most important tool is actually this thing. That
Your
if
keyboard.
take yes, take that, and the other thing is you have to know what to write. So this thing between your ears and behind your eyes. So I mean, this is me, but I've put decades and I couldn't even tell you how much money like training this thing. So when I sit down in front of this, I can just go. And it's just like stream of consciousness instruction writing, like books worth. And because I can see it all. And so all I need to do is chop it apart and then send it to the right people and the right machines. And I know that I can manage it in such a way that it will come back together correctly. And then it will hit, and I can manage the market at the same time and have it move. So the core tool is you need the internet. You need an internet access device, a phone or a computer. You need a keyboard. And then you need to spend you need to spend 1,000,000 hours getting really good at every single department and skill set such that, and I look at it from a business lens. This is all through the business lens, right? Like the business of software and product and all of that. But yeah, that to me, that's the most important. It's like, what do you need to be the world's best golfer? Well, you need a ball, a golf club, and a course. And then you buy all this fancy equipment. Do you need all the fancy equipment? It might give you a couple extra yards, but really you just need some core stuff. And could I do this with a piece of paper? Yes. Could I do it just in my mind? Yes, and have conversations. But I think these things are tools that help us accelerate. So, what a time to be alive, Yuri.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I totally agree that AI nowadays, so far, is just a tool. I don't know that's going to wait for us in the near future. However, right now, yeah, it's just a tool. And what I want to ask you, if let's say you would be able to develop some specific software that will help you to run your business even more successful and maybe more time effective, what would it be? Would it be something AI based or maybe just some specific software based on your daily routine? What it would be?
It would be a complete duplicate of me in everything I do, a complete digital twin of me.
Okay, that's what I want to ask. Do you have a twin? That's going to be a good replacement, or at least co-pilot.
Yeah, how do I say this? I've been working towards that for a long time. Um, it is not possible today, but we're getting to the component pieces are starting to become um, capable. We're starting to get there. And so there's this movie called Multiplicity with Michael Keaton. I think it came out in the 90s, early 2000s. It's a really funny, hilarious movie, but he essentially like made copies of himself, and the copy wasn't so great. And then the copy of the copy of the copy just became kind of a goofball.
Mhm.
So maintaining accuracy is a is a is a core requirement of that. But yeah, like a digital twin that could sort of do the same things I do would be pretty cool, and then fill in some of the gaps as well. Like no one's perfect, so if I could purchase other skill sets like the Matrix and plug it into the back of my digital twin's brain so we could learn judo, like business judo, that'd be pretty rad too.
Yeah, and you helping company to scale up their business, and you have a lot of clients, and you physically cannot be with them after some certain time of period of time when you're helping them. But what if, let's say, that companies that you already helped will decide to scale even more, and they're not gonna have you because you're already busy with another client or you have another vision? What would
Yeah.
you suggest them to do? Would it be some specific tools that might help them to run their business successfully and help to scale up?
hmm Yeah, and I've done some of this and published some of this in the past. Like I've produced frameworks, I've produced short videos, like podcasts to help get some of the knowledge out there. But the devil's in the details, as they say, and managing all of those details is where a lot of the value is as well, and where the differences are, because those details compound. And over time and a number of requirements, like it starts to create a big gap in the market where it starts to become first slightly obvious that you're a little bit better on a number of dimensions, but then very obvious over time. So that's the hard piece, is how do you take all of that and scale yourself? And I think there's so many people out there with skill sets that they don't even realize. I've started saying like you are the asset. So like Yuri, you have things and skills that I don't, which means you're the asset along some dimensions and you're best in the world at some things that I don't even know to ask. And so how do we, I think the real unlock is going to be when we're able to first identify that in ourselves, be able to extract it and digitize it, and then offer that to other people for use, either for free, ad supported, or on a paying subscription. Where, say, I just need your expertise on this component thing, I can just call out to you. You can give me that expertise, and I'm more than happy to pay you for that value creation that you gave to my project to help me move it forward. Because I mean, I'll let me give you an example. So building a new product, right? AWS, they've been around, got 15 odd years or so. Core simple thing. I wanted to give a developer access to AWS so they could deploy the platform. Now, I can't tell you how much wasted time and effort I spent with support just trying to get a developer into the system and assign them the right permissions. Because AWS has gone so far off the rails in terms of like every teeny tiny level of detail permission that they've completely lost any sense of the most basic simple use case. And that's what happens. It's like you go so far into the depths of like complete fine grained control that you lose simplicity. And I had to go out and get expert help. I talked to probably 5 people and then support. And I had to literally tell support, I need you to give me step by step written instructions so that I can do this. And I'm not an unintelligent human being. I've been in this space for decades and still, no matter what I did. And so it's like AWS, they're the best in the world at infrastructure, right? Are they?
I don't
Simple
know.
task. Simple task. Couldn't do it, but I had to call out to somebody else, an expert, in order to give me help. So, I think that is the thing that's needed. And if we could in real time just get that expert in there, I think that's why some of these like talent marketplaces are so valuable. The problem is it's like they're all so generic that a lot of times what people are looking for is really precise help rather than generic help. It's like, I don't need a product manager. I need like a niche thing. I don't need a developer. I need this teeny tiny niche thing. I don't need like a property developer. I need this little tiny niche thing. So that's why you hear all these companies and these advisors on social say niche down. It's for that reason, but those niches have to add up like dominoes into something bigger, such that people can come in and out, and then they can just go, "This is all too much. Just take care of the whole set of dominoes for me." You're like, "Fine, okay, I'll do it."
So basically, the simplicity is a key, an ability to place the right person in the right spot in the right time. That's the key to success. Is that correct?
Yeah, and then make it repeatable. The repeatability is the part where you go from a service to a product. That's the key.
Okay,
That's what the
that's a good
iPhone did.
quote.
Yeah,
That's a good quote.
yeah.
And
That's the hard part. You can do services until you figure out where the things keep coming up. Now you got a product on your hands.
yeah, when you can scale it and duplicate it,
Hmm.
and
Yeah, let the market tell you. You don't have to do that work. The market will tell you, like, hey, do you want this thing? Do you want it over and over again? Do your friends want it? There you go. Like, you're off to the
yeah,
races.
yeah, that's true. And this kind of a lot of brands right now on the market and a lot of trends going on. What help you to stay ahead of that industry trends?
Yeah, I think you got to pick something you love or you're interested in. I've said this, like, find your fascination and it'll get you
Hmm.
everywhere. Because then it's not and it's not work. It's sort of like, oh, that's interesting. What's that? You start reading in and poking into that. You do that enough times, and like you're already in the top 1%. I mean, it doesn't take much, right? And so, industry trends, like you become sort of a trendsetter because you're like, you're already down all these weird branches and like exploring and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden you go, oh, these two things connect. Oh my God, we should go off in this direction. There's the trend. So you saw it, you experienced it, you didn't predict it, and then the rest of the world catches up because they'll be on that path as well. So, it's you don't get there if it's just like, God, I hate my job, I hate this stuff, because you do just enough, and then you're like, I got to go do something else. So I think that's like one of the key elements of, because we do this work stuff so long for so much of our lives, and I think it brings a lot of people meaning in some ways, whether good, bad, or indifferent. That I think if you don't have some affinity for it, like, could, just won't be as good as the folks that do. And so it's just kind of critical to see the thing like, oh, do I actually, like, I'm kind of interested in this more than that, choose this.
Okay, and thank you for sharing one more time. I'm talking about like scalability of the business in the near future and impact that AI can make for all the industries that you work with. What do you think? Where are we going to be in a few years? You said that would be great to like make a replica of yourself to help more companies. I'm pretty sure that we will not be able to do this in a few years. Maybe, I don't know, in a couple decades, maybe. Never know. But what do you think going to be the nearest future for AI, your business, and a company similar to yours and the services that you provide?
Hmm. I think it's just a simpler user experience, either on the web or in the real world. I'll give you an example. I mean, this is where, I mean, everyone in Silicon Valley is already, this isn't like any major insight. They're all saying the same thing. But on a website, it's just, can you just do this thing for me? And then it'll go like do all this stuff, and it'll send some stuff back and say, is this what you meant? And you'll go, yes. And then it's like, okay, well, here's a couple options. Which one do you want? Okay, this one. All right, cool. Well, it's this much, and I found this one that's a little bit cheaper. They look to be better. Okay, well, then choose this one. So it's that sort of thing in a digital space. In a physical space, it's really called robotics, right? Like, we started this with things like Uber, right? Like push button, get car. You're really like push button, get me from A to B. So it's kind of the same thing, but for everything else. It's like, hey, can you go do the laundry for me so I don't have to? Or can you go wash these dishes? Can you feed my dog? Can you read to my kid? Can you like rake the leaves? Can you mow my lawn? Like, you know what I mean? It's like one of those do it all appliances. You don't buy a dishwasher. You don't buy a like a washing machine. You buy a do it all appliance, right? I mean, this thing is a do it all appliance in the digital world. Everything in there is about you. It's your text messages, your emails, your videos, your photos. So, it's like, what happens when your digital appliance, your do it all appliance, has legs and feet and can fold your laundry for you, or like go buy groceries and cook you a 5-star dinner? So everybody in the world has like the best food ever and they're healthy. Like, I mean, so I think it's just a user experience thing. It's like light bulbs. Like, we were all in the dark before and we flipped the switch and now there's light. And so we were in the dark before, we'll flip the switch, and now, we've got all this extra stuff done for us. We're going to have to pay for it, but it's just kind of like anything. So we'll spend more time figuring out how to pay for the thing, probably.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting point of view, and thank you for sharing that. Tell me, what is the next steps for the Evergence? What are you guys planning to do next? Are there any excited plans for 2025 or something that will help you to growth or create even bigger impact that you're making right now?
Hmm. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff cooking. That's what I'll say. I essentially work all the time. Like even when I'm sleeping, there's stuff being done. So it's there's a lot going on, but it's very exciting, and the future is very bright. So I would expect more things along the lines of products and experiences, both for ourselves and our clients. And you know, I think the core mantra and mission for a long time has been build things that help people. And that's easy to say, but really hard to do and make a business out of it. Um, but I think that's probably the vector upon which the work life will keep going. It's like build things to help a global population of folks. And some of the projects are really big and innovative. Some of them are small using innovations but have huge value. So we'll see what happens. And I think really the biggest unlock for all this stuff is what I imagine, and like my dream is to one day like have the chessboard full of all of our clients and customers and users and smash them all together into like this big Voltron transformer super gigantic thing, because we can't do it all. So it'd be super cool to like connect all the good people doing good stuff together and
Hmm.
like create some kind of super organism that helps everybody without hurting them. That'd be pretty rad.
Yeah. I hope it's not a became a Skynet like from Terminator.
I'll take friendly Skynet. I mean, I think the thing is, be careful who you give the instructions to. He who trains, what are their values, or she, right? Like
Yeah.
I my favorite movie is Bicentennial Man, because it shows a different perspective than most of Hollywood, which is it's required because you wouldn't watch the movie if it was boring and every day they only show you like death and destruction and Terminator. But Bicentennial Man, I think they cracked the nut on it. So I would urge everyone to go watch that with Robin Williams. That's the vision of the future that I think is the one that humanity is most likely to achieve. Love beats war.
Yeah, that's a great words, and I totally agree about that. Thank you for sharing your vision on the near future. Let's see what will happen in a few years, and it's kind of will be interesting in a few years. Just compare all that opinions that our guests will be sharing within the time, and see what became the real world after a few years from that predictions. But talking about not the predictions, but the real time. If, let's say, our listeners will decide to get more information about you and the company that you're running, the Evergence, and maybe will be interested in the services that you provide, how can they find you? Can you please share a little bit more details how they can contact you?
Hmm. Yeah, you can just search for my name on LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest way. Or you can go to our website. It's evergence.team, Evergence.team. And yeah, give us a shout, and we'll try to help if we can, or connect you to the right folks who might be able to if we can't. And yeah, either way, I'd love to see folks doing rad stuff that especially pushes boundaries on what's possible. That's the cool stuff.
All right. So thank you for sharing your contact. And the main and the biggest thank you from my side for your time today. We're running out of time, but actually, I went through all the questions that I want to ask you. I want to say thank you for your time, for sharing your opinion, for providing information about your perspective of the businesses and AI. If you want to say something to our listeners, that's the time. So, what's going to be the close words from you for this episode of the Blueprint Podcast?
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Yuri. I think appreciate you having me on, and looking forward to connecting with you and other folks further. Yeah, what's the final statement leave you with? I think just keep pushing the ball down the field, good things happen. I found duration beats everything. And by duration, I mean just keep going when other folks stop. And at some point, you're the only one left in the game. And just by that virtue of hanging on and sticking through it, like you'll get smarter, you'll get better, you'll find new relationships, you'll unlock new insights you didn't have before, and competition will drop away. And so, at the end, it's you may just be the only one left, and so you're gonna win just by default, just by being in it for so long. And so, yeah, duration beats everything. So when you feel like giving up, just remember, well, maybe I should just keep going. Like somebody at this, when you feel that point, that's when you can think, oh, this is the place where a bunch of people drop out. If I keep going, now all of a sudden there's less competition and I'm more likely to win. So every time you hit that point, that's what you should remember. I'm actually training my competition in the future, so maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but yeah, I think it's a good philosophy. So yeah, there you go. I'd be curious your thoughts.
Yeah, that's definitely right philosophy and the right mindset. So thank you for your final statement, Sean. Thank you, our listeners, for being with us. We wish you all the best. Just keep moving, keep running to your goals, and stay safe, folks. We love all of you, and thank you for your attention. Have a great day. Ciao for now.